Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know how it starts. It starts with restrictions on freedom of speech, and we don't need them. That's all anyone can do. Thank you for coming.
I want to go talk to Peterson. Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
Then why are you?
Why were they here?
Well, how can I answer that?
Are their views in alignment with yours?
At some point, you
I
have to
think
realize,
that's a foolish question. Look, if you want to know what my views are,
I've watched all of your videos. Yes.
including
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
then why would you ask such a question?
Because this is my interpretation of your videos.
Apparently,
That's
I wanted
All of the people who arranged the protest against you watched all of your videos.
It's like, do you want to
I have
disavow?
150 videos on YouTube.
No, your
You're
lectures, which sparked the
Okay,
debate.
okay.
Do you
I have
want to
150.
disavow the support
Could you let
of
me
white-
talk to her for a moment?
Don't call me that, please.
So, I have 150 lectures on YouTube.
I've watched all of your videos. Yes.
There's 500 hours of my views.
Do you really
If
think that
wanna
you're
find
worth
out
all
what
of
they
that
were-
time?
So look, I will answer your question, okay? I've studied Nazism for a very long time. It's been 4 decades, and I understand it very well. And I can tell you that there's some awful people lurking in the corners, and they're ready to come out. And if the radical left keeps pushing the way
That
it's
sounds very
pushing,
much like a
they're
threat.
going to come.
That sounds very
It's
much
not
like a
about
threat.
threat.
That sounds very much like a threat. Would you like to disavow the physical violence? Trans people were physically assaulted at this rally.
What?
So much fun.
Not easily.
Good smile, you bitch. What you want?
I didn't see anything.
Good sir. Thank you very much for adding your voice.
And I'm going to post this online that you would like people to not to be more accommodating of trans people and people of color at your events in future.
I would
I'm
like
a person
there
of
to
color.
be no
Listen,
violence.
I'm a person of color, and I felt very accommodated here. I felt like my voice. Thank you
I'm
very much.
also a former Muslim, and I feel like this guy
I'm
is
a
the
person
best.
of color.
I
There are
love
many
his
Muslims
videos.
You wanted to
all over
disavow.
Greenland.
You wanted to disavow, and this is the disavowal. I am not an advocate of violence. I'm speaking out the way I'm speaking out because I think this is a route to no violence. And violence is lurking. And you can say that that sounds like a threat.
There was
It's
no
not a
violence at
threat.
our protest, though. There was violence at your protest. So what does that say about our views?
It's not my protest. You have no idea if I'm your enemy. You have no idea about me.
You won't
know
use my
nothing about
pronouns, so I'm pretty sure you're my enemy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I know you think that, but I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run. I think it'll do quite the contrary.
What?
Is that your medical
Like,
opinion?
what, is that your medical opinion? Like, you
I mean,
are
I
aware
don't-
that non-binary people are valid in the American Psychological
about
Association.
non-binary
Is that your opinion?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's about non-binary pronouns.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm,
No, it's not.
I'm saying that that's
Did
what
you
I'm
come to the
about.
rally? Were you there when I spoke?
I've been here for this whole thing.
Okay, well, I don't know that. It's a genuine question. Look, I think that's what's happening is that we're pushing over a line we shouldn't cross. The newest legislation is requiring people to use.
But you are aware that that's being put in place so that we can't get fired. We need to be written into the Canada human rights legislation, or we can be fired for our gender identity.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, then why'd you make a fucking video about it? I've been denied housing as a trans person. These rights would protect me.
Denied housing?
I've been denied housing.
From the state or for the open market? So have you been denied housing, like From the government?
It's illegal
From
either
the
way
government?
if we had
From the
human
government?
rights.
From the government?
I'm not
or have you tried to get a house like everybody else and they said, no, you're weird, you can't work? No, if the state has done that, that's a problem.
They said,
but if someone doesn't want to live with you, that's their right.
They said, no, you're
I'm
trans.
really not sure how you
So no, if I had human rights, that wouldn't have fucking happened.
Yeah,
as
you're
I'm
weird.
concerned,
I don't want to live with schizophrenic
As far as
people.
I'm
I don't want to live
concerned,
with people with
that's a
bipolar.
terrible
I
thing.
don't want to live with
It's too bad that that's happened.
So
to
you don't want us to, but you don't want us to have protections in the human rights bill that will allow me to have employment,
I don't
allow
want-
me to have housing security,
want-
allow me to have medical care. That's what this is about.
That's
It's
what
not
you
about
think it's
infringing
about.
on your rights or making you learn a new
I
fucking pronoun.
I don't think that's what it's about.
If
What
you-
evidence do you have that attempting to transform the way that people use pronouns is going to produce a positive effect on
Because
society?
are you aware that there is a trans boy who killed himself in psychiatric care recently because he was continuously being misgendered by his care workers?
And that is my precise problem.
And there have been multiple recorded instances of trans people killing themselves because they are not being integrated into society. We are not looking for special treatment. We are looking to be able to integrate ourselves into society. And if you refuse to refer to us by our pronouns, which is not allowed to ask, singular they pronouns go all the way back to Shakespeare. It's not a new thing. If you refuse to let us integrate ourselves into society, you create alienation that results in suicide. We are in a suicide epidemic right now. What are you contributing to this as a psychologist?
Man, you know, you're almost impossible to talk to. You're so full of rhetoric that it's impossible to listen to you.
The feeling
I would
is
be more than
mutual.
happy to listen to you. Rattle on in your with your ideological speech.
It's not
And I
ideological.
can't even hear
It's personal. That's what
It's not personal. You haven't said a personal thing.
I'm
Everything
talking
you've
about
said
something
so
that
far.
affects my community.
It tends, even if you didn't mean it to, it attracts people like neo-Nazis and fascists. Because they see an avenue in what you're saying to do what they want, even if that's not what you meant. They see an avenue in your in the idea of like a more abstract form of free speech. They see an avenue in that to continue to spread their hateful ideology and to make more people hateful. So that's why the Nazis come here. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that's why that was.
I have a calm, rational question.
Okay.
I won't get emotional with you. So, who is this legislation harming? Who is
Harming anybody who wants to use their own words.
So in what capacity? Be specific.
Look, it's important that people are able to use their own words
Okay.
because that's how we think. And if
So-
the government starts legislating how we think, and
So
how
if
we
I
speak,
wanted
we're
to
gonna
call
be
you
like,
she,
Look, are you going to let me
I'm playing off of what you're saying. If I wanted to call you she and her and miss, because that's my freedom of speech, and if everyone just called you that all the time, and that was the only thing.
Call me. Can't you tell?
I think that you don't care because you've never had to face that, and it's a common trend among people who have never had to face like transgender related discrimination that you think it's not a big deal because you don't have to deal
I
with
didn't say I
it.
didn't think it was a big deal. I said I didn't care if people called me that.
But we're saying if you weren't.
You said no, and then when I started asking you about, you said it wasn't a solution. When you were asked, what is it not a solution to? You said something vague. We said it's about basic respect, and then you said not if I was compelled to. So no, when you were just asked, as a matter of respect, in fact, would you refer to a trans person who asked you to use they them pronouns, a pronoun which has a several
Not if I was
hundred-year
compelled to.
historical?
But
background?
that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it is because it's
We just
legislation.
we're saying if it wasn't legislation.
I've got to stop, guys. Look,
Never mind
there's
the
too many of you.
Okay, one simple
I've had
question.
enough. Sorry, I
Dr.
can't do this
Peterson,
anymore.
one simple question.
No, I'm done.
I thought we were
If it was not
statistically
the law,
irrelevant.
If it was
Well, yeah,
not
I mean,
the
like,
law,
I don't
and a
exist.
trans person asked you, would you please refer to me by they and them pronouns? Would you refer to them by those pronouns?
Might depend on how they ask.
So no.
Why do you have
Literally
the authority
said,
to determine
please
whether or
refer
not
to me
they're
by
Why
those
do I
worthy
have the
Why
authority
do
to
you have the
determine what I say?
Why do
What
you have,
kind of question
Why do
is
you have
that?
the authority? Let me finish. Why do you have the authority to determine whether or not an individual is worthy of you using their pronouns? Like if I asked you, would you please use they them pronouns for me? What?
It would depend on what I
What
thought of your
hoops
motivation.
do you want us to jump through?
Those are my pronouns. Those are my
There's no
pronouns.
motivation.
No, I know. No one ever has any motivation.
We're
Those are
trying
my
to
pronouns and I want
survive.
to be-
Politics are a product of our lives and us trying to live in this world. We're not trying to live in
that's
this world
partial.
as a product of our
you want me to
politics.
send you
I was
flowers?
apolitical before I came out as trans. I got into politics because I needed to survive, to advocate against people like you, no offense. I have one quick question. Okay, So they them pronouns are written into the Oxford English Dictionary, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It's actually the word of the year this year, and it does have historical continuity all the way back to Shakespeare. It is objectively an English word, singular they pronouns, grammatically correct. Do you think that you can choose to not respect something that is in the English language as a professor, as an academic, that you are going to that you are
absolutely I am choosing
but you're ignoring rules of the English language to go out of your way to disrespect students?
That's your opinion, and I'm not going
It is my
to
opinion.
disrespect students.
We're saying it's disrespectful
Anyway,
to us.
You don't get to decide what's disrespectful to us.
What you want.